Hi, I'm Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for joining the show. I am super excited about today's guests. I am super excited about the topic and about TEDx coming to Wenatchee and all that's involved. We're going to explain to you all that's involved in preparing for it and applying for it and bringing it to our community. And we're going to have a couple of presenters on the show today who will be giving their TED Talks. And in the studio right now, early in the show, we have Sara Rolfs. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So you're the mastermind behind all of this. You had the license to bring it 5 years ago, and now it's coming back.
Well, it's a co-mastermind with Jessica Lara. We co-founded TEDxWenatcheeED 5 years ago, when she was the original license holder, and we decided to flip-flop this time around.
So it's 5 years, so it take you about that long to recover from it?
Yes, exactly.
Before you decide you're going to do it again?
Yeah.
Just curious, from the time you applied back then and went through the process, because you have to go through a pretty extensive application process. They don't let just anybody give TED Talks, that's for sure, or host them. How is it? Did it change at all in the 5 years, what they required?
So part of the benefit of having the branding also comes with a set of rules, and part of it is because they've tested it, and there's a reason for the rules. So there's been an update of rules, but it's the second time around, and it's easier in some ways, but then you want to set the bar a little bit higher for the second go around, so there's always that.
In what way do you feel like you set the bar higher?
Well, we actually put an RFP out to the world, essentially. Last time we specifically just curated talks. And so we did some curation this time, and then we put it out because we were like, what the community might have to say that we're unaware of, and from people that we're unaware of.
So for the people who don't know what RFP is.
Oh, sorry. That's a request for proposals. And so we came up with an application process. What's your big idea? How can you support it? And put it on our website and send it out amongst networks. This talk event is specific to education, and both of us have been involved in education for a long time, and so we put it out amongst our networks.
Well, and interestingly enough, I think that in talking with the guests in the green room before the show today, who are coming on, are just a fraction of the people who are giving. How many TED presenters are there?
We have 21 presentations.
And that is in a span of 5 hours time, from 12 to 5, I believe. And we'll get into all the details about how you can watch the talk. It's a limited number of seats that are actually present for the live talk. But in talking with just even the guests that are here today, we chatted a bit about our various talks and how each of them fit education, but in this broader sense of how it applies specifically to us or to our life experiences. And that does make it a bit more interesting, I think. It
does. So we have an executive team that we built this time, which is also a different. Last time it was just Jessica and I making the decisions. We had a broader committee helping, but we really involved more people this time because we wanted to make sure that the talks are representative of what the community wants to hear. So yeah, it's pretty broad. Kind of they're the focus of K-12, K-16 age range, but pretty broad topics within that.
So when you make your selection, how many? I mean, we don't have to say how many applications you receive, but what was your process for making that decision to up the bar?
So we did the RFP for step one, and then we did have 42 applications, and some we thought were out of the context of what our executive team had decided. And so Jess and I kind of initially culled that down, and then I think we sent out 23 to a committee. We had a committee of about 17 community members that reviewed them all and ranked them, and then we just kind of did an average of that, and then also making sure that we didn't double up on topics too tightly. So there's some strategy, and then we also did curate a couple more speakers since then to fill in some gaps of context that we wanted to be sure and address.
And so when we talk about, well, I guess we should say, back it up even quite a bit to the beginning about anyone who's not familiar with a TED Talk. I think a lot of people are, but let's just tell them what it is. There's TED Talks, at that level, and then there's TEDx, and they allow us to have these types of talks in our community. So if you could speak to that.
Sure. So a TEDx license is like the Big TED Talks, but it's a locally organized event. Like I said before, there's all of these rules that come along with it. And the idea is big idea. So TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And there's a illustrious history behind it. It's kind of fun. It started in this really small group and has grown to a global movement. And one of the parameters is that can be no longer than 18 minutes. They really want people to have a concise, what's your big idea, what are the supporting arguments, and get in there and have what you want to say, and then move on to the next one.
There's even a book called TED Talks,
Yep.
right, that we're all reading who are giving talks, Chris Anderson.
Yep.
And there's really the masterminds who have given TED Talks, and I have watched many, many TED Talks over the years, and I'm actually fortunate enough to be giving a TED Talk at TEDx, so I have watched many more than I had before. And what I find interesting about it is it doesn't matter. That's why I believe in Wenatchee so much, and anywhere we live, that we can achieve anything we set our mind to, because I've seen some of the most phenomenal TED Talks from people who live in the littlest place in the country or in the world blow up because they have something to say that people want to hear. Doesn't have to be on this huge level of TED Talk of one of the national events. And so I really think it's valuable that you put in the effort to bring these talks here. It's just phenomenal. I mean, you realize what a gift it is to our community to have had one and to have another. It's ambitious.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work to make sure that we get it done right and we do it, have a quality event. But it's also inspiring. I mean, to get to go through and having to cull it down to a certain number to make it palatable. 21 speakers is probably a little much for 5 hours, but we really believe in the content and the quality of our speakers. So it's fun. It's invigorating.
So let's explain that the TED Talk will happen at the college.
Yep.
And that's 100 seats only, and that's how the license works. Yep. It's only 100 seats. That's a lottery situation, correct?
So part of it, so what we did, because TED Ed is actually the license we have. You can have a general license, but we specifically wanted to focus on education. So that's a separate license. And the idea behind a TED Ed is to get administrators and teachers and community members in the same room to really have a discussion about how can we make our public education system even better. And so what we did is we looked at the number of students served by the different districts, and then sent out to superintendents for admin, and then actually we went through the teachers unions for their allotment of tickets, and they had first dibs, and they had needed to RSVP by the 21st, and the rest of the of January. And then we have opened it up for lottery, and I have over 100 names on the lottery list, and we're probably going to maybe have 50 seats to fill that. And so we're going to actually draw the lottery on February 1st. And
then the overflow will be at different locations. I think Pybus, you said, is one location?
Yep, so we have a live streaming event at Pybus. We also have one at Wenatchee Public Library. And each of those events are actually restricted to 100 seats as well. But for people that can't give up the whole afternoon, that is the place to pop in catch a couple talks on your lunch or while you're grabbing coffee down at Pybus, and then you can go back to work. We also are broadcasting at 7 other library branches throughout the region. I know
live
streaming.
At the time of,
yep,
okay.
At the time. And we're offering clock hours for teachers. So.
That's good when you're dealing with teachers and administrators. So then later it's filmed by students here in our community, right?
Yep.
And then those talks will be available, depending on their acceptance rate, through the TED Talk whole big system. And how long does that take?
So that's one of the rules, is within 45 days you have to have each individual presentation packaged in a neat little package and produced, and then we send them to TEDx. And by and large, as long as there's no content outside of the guidelines of TEDx, then they'll be up on TEDx website. That's an international website.
So if you miss any of those available venues to watch it live, it'll be available for the rest of time on the internet, which could be a good thing or not. Depends. Well, when we come back, we're having a couple of other guests joining us to talk about their TED Talks, their involvement in our community, and you're going to stick around and talk with us as well.
Sure.
All right. Thanks. We'll be back in just a moment.
Elements is a nationwide top 200 salon celebrating 20 years of service in the Wenatchee Valley. We are staffed with educated and experienced designers providing beauty and health services. Visit our Facebook page for our store hours and our menu of services.
Do you want to become part of the most dependable brand of vehicles today? Then start looking at Town Toyota. Come drive the best-selling, totally redesigned 2019 RAV4. Come check out the powerful towing performance of the Tundra. It's built for the worksite and the weekend. Forge your own path and seek tougher roads in the Tacoma. Leave no trail left unchallenged. Whatever your vehicle needs, Toyota has a seat for you. Come visit us today. Do you want to become part of the most dependable brand of vehicles today? Then start looking at Town Toyota. Come drive the best-selling, totally redesigned 2019 RAV4. Come check out the powerful towing performance of the Tundra. It's built for the worksite and the weekend. Forge your own path and seek tougher roads in the Tacoma. Leave no trail left unchallenged. Whatever your vehicle needs, Toyota has a seat for you. Come visit us today.
Hi, we're back. I'm Lisa Bradshaw. We're talking about TEDx coming to Wenatchee. We're here with Sara Rolfs. She was talking about the licensing process. She brought it here along with her co-founder 5 years ago, and it's back. It's happening on February 20th here in Wenatchee, and we're super excited about it. So here joining us now, hi, thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Arlando, Lara. Got it. All those L's. So anyway, so I'm super excited to have you here, and you are a presenter at the TEDx coming up here soon.
I am, and I'm really excited to be a presenter at TEDx. I mean, it's something that I've heard about for a long, long time, and have this opportunity is wonderful.
I think it's really a bucket list item for a lot of people, and so to get to check that off right here in Wenatchee is pretty, that's what I'm speaking to, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I didn't realize how big it was, and to realize the magnitude of
It's
of
almost
the
better not to do that research
Yeah.
before the talk,
Well,
right?
yeah, you totally.
Treat it like speaking in front of your classroom with your students, or a speech you've given somewhere else.
And that's how I'm approaching it. I mean,
Yes.
essentially, it's that, but I know in the back of my mind, there's so much more that goes into it.
Right.
So.
What was your feeling through the application process? Did you feel overwhelmed by it? Did you feel like it was representative of the effort that should go into it for the selection process?
Well, I think that for me, it was just more of I wanted to do it. Deep in my heart, I wanted to spread a message, and I knew this was an avenue that I could do it in the vehicle, and that I think was appropriate. And so I'm more of the type that just kind of, I'll do it, and then I'll put forth a huge amount of effort to apply, for example, and then I'll just say, okay,
Let it go.
However it goes, it goes.
Work
It's out of
hard,
my control.
accept. That's what
Yes.
one of my friends says all the time. So, Sarah, what was it about his story or his idea that spoke to you for the selection process?
Well, I actually have had many education conversations with Arlando over the course of the last year or so, and just really encouraged him that he's got a lot to say and speaks from his heart and experience, and that is exactly what we're looking for a TEDx talk.
And so let's talk about your talk. What
Sure.
is the title of your talk, and what is the overall topic of your talk?
Well, it's called The Fragmenting of Our Students, and I think more or less it's not the cliched whole student type thing, it's beyond whole student. So there is this level of whole student search, for a child and how you get them to learn. However, I want to go beyond that. I want to look at kids more as a human, and you want to humanize.
From the beginning.
Right. You want to humanize their experiences, honor their life, but create that connection so that you can do that amazing curriculum, with the curriculum authors that have spent all this time creating, curriculum for your classroom. And so I think for me, it's just more of trying to reach the kids where they haven't been reached before. In other words, go to where they are, honor their experience, but then build on that relationship so that you can educate those kids.
And wouldn't you say just overall, probably a lot of the presenters that you've selected, you and Jessica have selected, Sarah, and you can speak to this as well, that so many of the topics are about how to fix something, but also not just that everything's broken. It's just there's more we can do.
Absolutely. There's pockets of innovation and greatness here in our own valley, and then there's other lessons that we can learn from the region and beyond. And it's just to be thought-provoking, and let's chew on things a little bit more and see how we might tweak it to make it better.
When you are preparing, as you're preparing for your speech, because our due date is coming like Friday. Friday for our title and just overall, taking a big look at it. And what do you feel like stands out most about your message, or what is it that you feel like you've had to work at the hardest, or just that you feel like is rising to the top?
I think the relationship aspect is really rising to the top, but also the personal reflection aspect. You know, as a teacher, you are constantly trying to improve. And when you stop improving, you're metaphorically dead. And I don't want to be there. And so I'm doing a lot of talking to myself in the car.
I am too.
And you know,
It's
kind
the
of doing
funniest
things,
thing.
yeah, just trying to refine my presentation, because I want to create a human side for me as well.
Yes.
And take my personal experiences and show people how it shaped me as, you know, the educator I am now.
It's funny that you say that, because I thought, thank goodness people have Bluetooth, because now it's not weird to be driving down the road talking to yourself, because nobody knows if you're talking to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that too. It's just I've spoken on many levels, and I've been on on national television and given speeches, but this just feels a little extra special, and it should. You know, I feel like it's an honor, and I think that the work that you've put into it, I mean, the emails that we get every couple of days, it seems like sometimes, but for sure once a week, checking in and just making sure everyone's on task and is, and for some people it might be one of their first time speaking. Yeah. I mean, what have you done to try and encourage that?
Just checking in and reassuring. I've had a couple of our speakers be pretty nervous. We do have a student. She's a freshman at Eastern Washington University, and she's pretty nervous, and it's a pretty deep
It's a real thing.
topic, and so just encouraging, and also saying, you know what, it's okay if it's too much, because like Arlando pointed to, several of them, it's personal stories, and they've had to dig deep and do some inner work to get to the story, to the meat of it.
I think there's what I'm liking about the process is that we all have a story, and this has to apply to education, and you and I talked, and I said if I can talk about education outside the classroom, but also how that applies in the classroom. And I think that what it is doing for the presenters is it is that digging deep. And I like the rules and the parameters, because sometimes when you get up and speak, people don't want to tell you what to say or tell you what to talk about. But having that, it's not a box. It's bigger than a box. It's an opportunity to really kind of flesh out the stuff that maybe doesn't matter as much in your story and fill it in with the stuff that does. Are you finding that to be true in your process?
No, yeah, and you want to make it personally, but you also want to honor the process and the system itself of TEDx, because you want to make sure that you're ensuring that you're offering some relevant information pertaining to the topic. And so that's the key. And I'm constantly finding myself refining it, but also keeping that in the back of my mind. But I also want to keep that personal aspect as well. And so that's important to me, share my story, but also to share my work in what I do in the classroom and with my students.
Well, TED is a well-oiled machine, so we're not reinventing the wheel by any means, and certainly it must be good for you that you're following guidelines that they set for having the license. Can you imagine if you were trying to, do it in the dark? So, but good luck. I'll
Thanks.
see you
You
in
too.
a couple of weeks, and we're going to stick with Sara for a bit, and we have another speaker coming on in just a moment. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to become part of the most dependable brand of vehicles today? Then start looking at Town Toyota. The innovative features of the Highlander are designed to help safely get you and your passengers wherever you want to go. The Prius is the most advanced hybrid on the road today. If you want to roll in style, we've got you covered in the 86 GT. Whatever your vehicle needs, Toyota has the seat for you. Come visit us today.
Elements is a nationwide top 200 salon celebrating 20 years of service in the Wenatchee Valley. We are staffed with educated and experienced designers providing beauty and health services. Visit our Facebook page for our store hours and our menu of services.
Hi, thanks. We're back. We're talking everything TED Talk today on the show We are bringing, Sara and her partner Jessica Lara is a co-founder. You're holding the license for the TEDx coming to Wenatchee on February 20th.
Yep.
We're talking about the process that's involved in bringing the TEDx talk here to our small community with big opportunities. I love the place we live. And now joining us is another TED presenter. Thanks for being here. Your name is Sara
Schoenhals Martinez.
Schoenhals Martinez.
Yes, thank you.
Sometimes I need a little help. So thank you for being here too.
Thank you.
So we talked earlier with Arlando about his talk, and tell us your topic.
So my topic, without giving too much away,
Sure.
I'll give you the title. It's How to Unleash Potential Around You. So it really zooms in on that main idea of potential.
So when you went through the process of going through participating in the TED Talk, is it a bucket list item for you? I mean, are you pretty excited?
I am excited, and it's interesting because like you had said earlier, I do a lot of speaking, but there's something different. There's something really special about the TED Talk. And I'm excited to do that myself, but I'm really excited to hear the other presenters.
I am too. I think that getting to stay there all day and supporting each other throughout, not just coming and talking and leaving, which is what happens a lot of times when you're a public speaker, just in and out, and you don't get to hear everything else that's going on. So what about Sara's presentation or her application process stood out to you for the selection process?
Well, I believe it was a phone call that I got from Sara, or maybe it was a couple of emails before where some colleagues or friends had contacted her. Oh my gosh, you got to know about it! And this was like 2 days before the deadline. And so we chatted and got a feel for what she might speak about. And so I was like, oh yes, please. I'll email you the RFP. The request for proposal right away, and she was really responsive, and the executive team agreed that it definitely filled a need in our lineup.
So how do you decide the lineup? It's based on the breakdown. I know that you're doing some personal narratives. So how are you organizing the day? What can people expect?
Okay, so we have 21 speakers, so luckily that fits nicely into 3 different sessions. So we plan to have the first 7, and then we'll have a short break, and then the next 7 and another break. And that the breaks are intended for networking, get a drink of water. We will have some guided discussion questions that people can put their answers on a sticky note, just so that we've got some feedback and that we can share it out amongst the education community. And then in each session, because it is pretty dense, you've got 7 big topics to think about, big ideas. Again, the E in TED is entertainment. So we actually have a performance in each of them as kind of a brain break. And then we've got a personal narrative embedded in each of them, because some topics pair really well together, and then some you kind of need and then move on to the next.
And so that's why it's so important for you guys to understand, you and Jessica, to have a real succinct idea of what we're presenting. I want a little more time, but February 1st is it. And so because you have a whole entire day to organize, and it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, well, we understand that there'll be hopefully refinement after the first, but just to really have an idea of time and like I was saying at the break, is a lot of people have gone through different iterations and want to make sure that we've still got them paired up next to a speaker that makes sense. So there's a good flow.
What's your process for preparation?
Well, at this stage in the game, my process is to know it so well that I can just be alive and dynamic with the people who are there. So right now, I'm trying to let the message live in me, so I have that idea, in my cells, and I can just be present.
That's one of the things that I was thinking about in the processes of preparing my talk, is that if I think about it in terms of the story, just like if I was sitting down to lunch with one of you and you're telling me your story, and if you were to say, tell me the highlights of your story, or however that applies, it's a lot better to think of it that way. We work with students in an anti-bullying program, and we give them a script, and sometimes they'll be really trying to focus on that script, and I'm saying, your natural reaction is probably the words you would use anyway. So if you just try to not make it a script and just make it an interaction, I think that's the goal that TED tries to achieve as well. Would you agree?
I think so too, and I think for some people the script is really helpful.
In the beginning.
As long as you know it so well that you're not trying to recall the script in the moment. Yeah.
I've had people even on the show who want questions ahead, which I never do, because if you're coming on the show, you know more about your topic than I do. So it's my job to, come up with what we're going to talk about. And but I've had people come on the show who bring notes, and I ask them a question that I've had with them in many other scenarios, and then it's like, well, I don't remember the exact, and it just gets worse from there. You know, it's harder for all of us to respond from a script. So we're wrapping up here, but I just wanted to thank you again, Sara, for yours and Jessica's work in bringing it here. And what's your takeaway so far? I mean, obviously February 20th is kind of the big gauge, but so far, what's your takeaway?
I guess I'm impressed about how many people from our community want to be a part of it. It's exciting to see. As I said, we have over 100 people that are going to be in the lottery for less than 50 tickets, and that's fantastic that many people are intrigued.
Where can people go for more information so they know where you can participate in the how you participate in the lottery? It's probably a little late for that by the time the show airs, but the live places, is there a website we can go to all at once to find that information?
So we have TEDxWenatcheeValley.org is our website, and then we also have a Facebook page. I believe we have Twitter and maybe Instagram as well.
For more information about the TED Talks, how you can watch live and how you can watch it later in the archives, you can visit TEDxWenatcheeValley.org. Thanks for watching.
Elements is a nationwide top 200 salon celebrating 20 years of service in the Wenatchee Valley. We are staffed with educated and experienced designers providing beauty and health services. Visit our Facebook page for our store hours and our menu of services.
Dear Mary Maids, just got home from a trade show and I didn't have time to pick up the house. Kids made chili. Jeff did a mud run. Oh, and Winston shredded Teddy's bed. Again, please clean it the best you can. Oh, except for the statue Max made for me. Thanks, Abby.
Hi, Abby. Clean kitchen, clean bath, clean floor, naughty cat. Poor Teddy. The statue is precious. You should keep it forever. See you next time, Mary Maids.